Good morning, everybody, and welcome to SCC's second in the series of our local government webinars. Big thank you for taking the time out of your days to join us. I know how busy your schedules are. My name is Simon Camp, and I'm your host for today. I am a technical account manager at SCC, and it is my job to help our local government customers reach the vast capability we have within our organisation. So yeah, really big welcome from me. Today, we're going to be talking about how we can help you to use Agentic AI to cost effectively serve the residents within your councils. And you'll be pleased to know that I am joined by some experts in our collaboration team. So to just give you a bit of a flavour about what we're going to be talking about today, it's really about how we can help you to make better use of your contact centre systems, your unified communication systems, and Agentic AI to provide a better experience for the residents, whilst also reducing the burden on your staff within the council and sort of reducing the load on the call centres that you have. A recent example I can give you is we've started working with a local government customer in the Midlands, and they had a contact centre system that was set up in quite a basic way, and it was just doing really just call routing, and it wasn't really exploiting all of the functionality that was available to them. So we joined up and engaged in a project with them to basically maximise all of the functionality within the contact centre system, but then took it to the next step by using our Power Platform practice and our sort of co-pilot experts to start linking that unified communication system to their Microsoft ecosystem to really start automating tasks, providing that slick experience to the resident, but also reducing the load on the contact centre. Okay, so you'll be pleased to hear that it isn't just me talking to you today. We have got some experts. So what I'd like to do is just introduce the colleagues that have joined me today. So we've got H from Resonate. Resonate, just to point out, is an SCC company, part of the SCC group. They are absolute experts in all things communication and that Microsoft ecosystem, Copilot Studio and what have you. And H is going to be talking about what is Agentic AI and how you can assess its return on investment, because there's no point in spending all of your time developing AI when it's not actually going to make a difference. So H is going to be taking you through that. We're then joined by one of our partners, Jordan Bloor, from Luware, one of the contact centre systems that we use in many of our local government customers. He's going to be taking you through some use cases that are being used in some of our customers today. And then we're going to be wrapping up with Steve Wrigglesworth, and he's going to sort of take you back as to where you need to be to get started to be successful on your contact centre and AI journey. So that is just about it from me. Just a couple of housekeeping points. We've got the Q&A running. If you could drop your questions into the Q&A as we go through the presentation. we will pick them up at the end. And if we do run out of time, we've got your contact details. We'll get back to you afterwards. So yeah, that's it from me. Passing over to H to take you through his session.
Thanks, Simon.
Over to you, H.
Cheers. Okay, so I just wanted to start with what is agentic AI. It's a term that's probably top of people's mind and spoken about quite a lot, but just wanted to level set at the start of this so we all start on the same page. So if we walk through this visually, on the left here you can see the residents and the council employees, and they're used to communicating in natural language, whether it be chat, voice, or even in digital forms. And that's really where the intent lives within those conversations. And on the right, you've got the systems that actually run the council services. So that might be case management systems, care assessment platforms, scheduling systems, safeguarding records, for example. And those are the systems that actually execute the work and enforce policy. So if we look at historically how that worked, people used to be the bridge between these two systems. So a message would come in, someone would read it, interpret what the actual request is, then have to check multiple of these systems, apply the policies, and then log cases. So that's how things looked before. But let's try and make this a bit more real with a social care example. So imagine you've got a resident who says, my elderly neighbour's carer hasn't turned up, and they're worried. If we look at that request, it's not just a service request. It could involve vulnerability, there's a safeguarding risk there, or it's an existing care case. So if we look at that again today, the contact center agent will read that message, they'll log a concern, they'll check the social care system for existing records, they'll look for maybe safeguarding flags, and then they'll try and route that to the appropriate team. That process requires the agent's judgment and a lot of switching between systems. If we take the after route and we add agentic AI and automation into the mix, that agentic system can now understand that this is a welfare concern, understand the address or the resident details, check whether that individual has a care record already in place, identify any of those safeguarding indicators, create the cases automatically, prioritize it based on the fact that it's someone elderly, that it needs to be seen to quickly, and then notify the relevant people. And during that process, it's able to log every action that's taken. So it's not just responding, it's actually reasoning about that situation. It's trying to select what's the next best appropriate action within the boundaries that we set for it. And that's the real difference here. Automation is something that's been around for a long time and is still very valuable. It follows a predefined set of rules. Agentic AI is able to now evaluate the context, consider multiple actions, and then determine that next best action. And this really sits in our sweet spot. We've been helping organizations for 10 plus years deliver collaboration platforms. We understand how residents and employees communicate across those different channels. And we've really invested heavily in development capability and integrating these systems together. Now applying AI is that next journey that we're taking on. So why does that matter now more than ever? So if we look at there's 4 different elements that we consider here. So conversations now are already digital. Customers and employees are already working in chat, email, voice, and we're capturing the intent in natural language. So the data we need to make these decisions is already there. If we look at the next piece around the enterprise systems, flashback 10 years ago, connecting systems together needed middleware, there was long projects involved. If we look at what you have today, most of them are driven through APIs and they're designed to integrate. So we've got the capability to be able to connect these systems together. If we look at AI now, and even in the last 18 months, how much it's matured, you've got less likelihood of hallucination, and we're able to control that hallucination much more in a much more refined way. And those large language models are also can reliably actually understand that ambiguity. And the last piece is around business pressure. So aside from all these technical reasons, there's increasing business pressure where organizations are under pressure to reduce operational cost, improve their response speed, provide a better experience, increase the accuracy in which they're doing things. And if you combine all of these elements, there's actually now a window of opportunity where for the first time, it's not just technically feasible, but also commercially viable to connect the intent that we mentioned from those conversations to actually actioning items at scale. So we've been helping customers now with Agentic AI over that period of the last 18 months. And really there's some tips and tricks that we've learned through deploying that I just wanted to run you by. So the first thing I would say is that if you look at your use cases and scenarios, not everything needs to be agentic. We know it's the buzzword at the moment, but it's important to understand that some things may fall back to automation. If you look at a scenario where a resident wants to check a bin collection date, for example, there's no reasoning that's needed there. It's a simple lookup. But if we look at an example where a housing tenant reports damp, that then requires evaluating context amongst different systems. Is it routine maintenance? Is it linked to vulnerability? And that's where we can use agents to improve the decision quality that comes through that. The next piece is around starting small and to prove value. So we know that councils are under high scrutiny for spend. So really, you don't want to start with like a large cross-departmental transformation. Have a look at your journeys that your customers are taking or your employees are taking, and just start with one high friction journey. It might be as simple as something like missed bin collections or housing repair triage or blue badge application status queries. And what we do is then define the baseline and see how we can measure that impact when we add that automation and AI capability in that. And when you get success in these smaller projects, it builds confidence. And then that's when you're able to properly scale and start to see the benefits of automation and AI. The next thing would be about defining boundaries clearly. So in local government, governance is top of mind. So from the start, it's important to be really explicit about what the agent can decide, what it can trigger automatically, when should we be escalating to a human, so that those boundaries there are put in place to prevent any risk. And again, it helps with that trust when you're rolling out at scale. Knowledge is really important as well. And from our experience, the knowledge in most customers, including local government councils, is often fragmented. And some of the things that we're seeing here is that if it's outdated and inconsistent, the decisions around that will be wrong. So, for example, if you've got a policy for emergency repairs, and the agent then uses one from, say, the previous year, there's risk involved there. So what we would really suggest is that your knowledge needs to be structured, it needs to be current, and it needs to be owned, because agentic systems almost amplify the quality of the knowledge, whether that's good or bad. So lay the foundation from the start. And the last one is about measuring outcomes. I have a dedicated slide for this, so I won't go through this here. But in terms of actual measuring and tracking ROI, that I think is one of the most important pieces about a successful AI rollout. When we talk about return on investment in local gov, there's lots of scrutiny, budgets are tight, services are under pressure. So you have to be able to defend the outcomes that you're providing. And ROI doesn't always necessarily have to be financial. There's an experience piece, there's a capacity piece, there's a compliance piece that's also a very important piece of that. So These are just some examples. There could be lots more depending on the use cases and scenarios that you are trying to achieve. But again, just giving you an example. So operational capacity, for example, has case handling time reduced? If a repair previously used to take 10 to 15 minutes of manual triage and you can do that in 2 to 3, can you then move that capacity and redirect it into more high value cases like safeguarding or complex cases? If we then look at budget efficiency, so there's an opportunity for manual effort reduction across like high volume services. So if you look at all of the use cases that residents are contacting you about, you'll find that there's probably some that are repeating. So things like missed bin reports or council tax balance checks, and these are all very simple things. If you can reduce the amount that people have to spend time on those cases, your cost per case then starts to fall. And again, this ties back into operational capacity as well. So we mentioned that things don't have to just be financial. Resident experience is also a very important part of this. So here we can measure things like satisfaction trends, we can measure complaint volumes, we can measure repeat contact rates and first time resolution. So residents are getting faster confirmation, clearer updates, and they don't need to chase the council, which is another thing that generally increases pressure. So from a resident perspective, you're improving their trust and again becomes a tangible output. Policy and safeguarding, we mentioned that compliance is critical. So we need to be able to measure that we are following those policies, we are escalating when required, and we are actually ensuring that the automation and agentic processes are following those policies. Service adoption is another good one. So being able to measure how many people are actually using these new services that you've deployed, whether it be through the phone, through chat, through email. If you can show a measurement of like 40% of routine housing or waste queries are handled without officer intervention, that is then measurable scale that you can prove. And the last thing I would say is time to service improvement. So how quickly are you getting that return on investment? So if you can show that that benefit is quickly, it will start to build the confidence across leadership and other members within the organization. And that's where you're able to then also unlock that capability to scale. So hopefully that gives you a good introduction into AI, what it is, how we are helping customers, and some tips and tricks around how to make it successful. I'll pass on to Jordan now, who's going to show us some real life use cases and what's being used in local gov today.
Thanks for the intro, H. Yeah, I get to do the exciting part, which is show you guys what other councils are doing today. So I'm Jordan, I'm public sector lead for Luware. So what does that mean in real terms? It means I go into local government organizations, identify any kind of bottlenecks within their telephony and contact centers, and apply relevant technologies to reduce those bottlenecks. And typically we do that using the tools you have today, which is what matters most here. So I'm going to show you today exactly a use case that another council is using in practice today to improve their safeguarding. But before I do that, I'll just show you exactly why this matters for you. So this is about existing within your current platforms, not adding new platforms, but existing within ones you already have. So as you can see from this slide here, Nimbus is very much the orchestrator that lives within Teams and utilizes your existing technology stack. So whether that's Power BI for reporting, Copilot for AI use cases, or CRMs that you may be using separately as well, and about creating one platform. So what I'm showing you here is not just another contact center that's bolted onto Teams. This is a citizen service platform built for and in Microsoft Teams. So it means it runs inside the same Microsoft 365 and Azure environments that councils already operate and already govern. So it's natively integrated into Microsoft Teams. It's not a separate contact center platform. So we leverage existing M365, Azure, Power Platforms, and your CRM estate. So it's a single orchestration layer for voice, digital channels, workflows, automation, and AI. And you might be sat there thinking, Jordan, that's an awful lot of buzzwords. Get to the point. What does it mean for you in real terms? Fewer integrations, fewer desktops, fewer failure points, one secure governed platform for all of your citizens' interactions in a familiar place, which is Microsoft Teams. And it gives councils the ability now to leverage AI and automation in a tool that you already use. So it's a very, very unique proposition in that sense.
Yep.
So this is typically what we would do when we sit down with a council. There's kind of three main stages, as you can see here, of any interaction. There's when the citizen is waiting, which is the first stage. There's when the citizen is connected. And then there's that post-engagement piece, so after the call, which I've spoke to lots of supervisors within local gov contact centers, and they say, Jordan, that's actually the most difficult part, is after the call, not during. So what we do is we come in and we identify different technologies that we can apply at each stage to make that citizen's experience brilliant, but also to make sure the agent experience is great as well. And there's a few examples that I'm going to run you through today in practice that other local government organizations use. But just to kind of fill you guys in before I do that, there's a few different technologies that I want to talk about here today. So you can see here, automation via AI or intelligent IVR. So what that means is citizens can explain their issue once in their natural language, instead of navigating kind of complex IVR menus. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for the other. By the time you get to press 9, you've already kind of forgotten what the other options were and you kind of just give up. We can allow citizens to navigate that in their natural language. So what does that mean in real terms? We can automatically raise kind of run-of-the-mill tickets, which H talked about. You know, the bin use case is a really good one where they don't actually need to speak to a human. The use case I'm going to be demonstrating today is actually how we can use AI to detect intent and urgency, which I'll talk to you about in just a minute. After that, we come onto our intelligent routing technology. So what does that mean in real terms? It means we can route citizens back to maybe the last officer they spoke to. So reducing the need for kind of repeat explanations and follow-up calls. And we can give complete continuity for the citizen and the agent.
Yep.
When that call is connected, there's different technologies we can apply there as well. A really popular one amongst councils today is the CRM POP. So agent receives the live CRM record on connection of the call. It gives them citizen details, history, custom fields, maybe like outstanding council tax, things like that. Beyond that, we can then start to provide agent actions using automation. So instantly sending out, standard letters, links, guidance by email, SMS, WhatsApp during the interaction, which is really, really powerful for local gov contact center agents who are under an awful lot of pressure, particularly during peak times of the year, like council tax and school admissions. After that, we move on to the post-engagement, which is sometimes where the real hard work starts for the agent. So there's different things we can do, but one of the things that a lot of councils are very, very interested in at the moment is using AI to log the interaction in the CRM automatically and using AI to summarize the call. So creating follow-up tasks automatically in the CRM as well. All of that is drastically reducing the after-call work for the agent. But not only that, it's providing audit trails of all of their interactions with all of their citizens. And I'll talk about that when I demonstrate the use case that another council is using today, where they're using AI to transcribe and summarize the entire call to make sure they stay compliant under the Health and Social Care Act. And then obviously we've got all of our standard stuff like our real-time monitoring as well.
Yep.
So the use case I'm going to be showing you guys today is being used by another local council, and their problem statement was very, very simple. It was safeguarding. How do we improve our safeguarding for our vulnerable citizens? So the why is pretty obvious, right? Councils have a statutory duty to do so. So I'm not going to bore you to death with that. What I will talk to you about, though, is the how we do it. So what we're doing is we're replacing press 1 and press 2 with just free speech intent capture. So it allows citizens who might be under pressure or in a rush to just simply state what they want to speak about in their own natural language, and we can route to the correct destination. Our virtual user is what we call our Agentic AI solution. It will help to surface emerging safeguarding indicators that maybe won't come as a safeguarding referral. Maybe it'll just come as a housing repair, as an example. So we're reducing the dependency on the caller to correctly press the right option to get through who they want to speak to. We're going to use AI to do that for us. I spoke about it a moment ago, but automatically sending summaries and transcripts into a CRM or to a housing or safeguarding officer is a really powerful tool. As you'll know, under the Health and Social Care Act, we have to have a full and defensible audit trail of all of our interactions with our vulnerable citizens. We can achieve that without human input. We can achieve that using AI and automation. Because let's face it, those frontline contact center agents, they're not actually safeguarding specialists. What we can do is we can get AI to triage that call to the correct person, and then we can escalate really, really quickly using automation, which I'll show you in just a moment. So what's our safeguarding model? Well, it's very, very simple. Residents traditionally will need to navigate an IVR. Under Luware, they won't need to do that. They can explain in their own words what they want to talk about. The second part, traditionally, urgency depends on agent judgment. And we know human judgment isn't always perfect because we're human ultimately. With Luware, AI will flag that urgency and then route accordingly. Traditionally, notes will vary by agent, or sometimes they won't happen at all. Using Luware, we'll create a full transcript and AI summary every single time. And traditionally, a safeguarding team only sees an issue if someone refers it. We can use AI and automation to make sure that they get visibility of that with suggested follow-ups every single time.
Yep.
So this is what I'm going to show you guys today in real terms.
Yep.
Citizen's going to call in, and I'm going to play the part of the citizen. The citizen's going to call in. Our virtual user, our Agentic AI solution, is going to speak to the caller, and it's going to try to identify the intent of the call. It's then going to analyze to see if there's any urgency around the call. The example that I'm going to put in is that I've got no running water, and we'll get the Agentic AI solution to engage with the citizen to try to identify that urgency. If the virtual user identifies urgency, it will route with a high priority. So what does that mean in real terms? It means Joe Bloggs, who's in the queue, just looking to report that his bin hasn't been collected. He'll have to wait where he is for now. We're going to route this urgent request much quicker.
Yep.
The call is going to be routed to the correct team and user based on their skill and their availability. And this part is key because context of the call will be handed over to the human agent from the virtual user. So this is going to be a huge time saver for the agent because the agent's going to have full context over what this call is about as the call arrives. At that point, the caller should be flagged as vulnerable, and the safeguarding officer will be notified in Teams. Again, this boils back down to the whole point of this webinar, which is to do more with the tools you already have. The housing officer will be notified within Teams with a full summary, a full transcript, and a suggested follow-up. Yep. The safeguarding officer or housing officer can review the call in full, and then they can decide what they want to do with that call. Maybe they want to schedule a callback, and we'll deliver then that natively in Teams as well. So without further ado, I'll dive in and I'll show you exactly what this is going to look like from an agent's perspective, but also a citizen's perspective as well.
Yep.
So as you can see, I'm just natively within Teams at the moment, a tool we all recognize by now. Along the left-hand side, the one difference you're going to see here is I've got the Nimbus application, which I can jump into just using one click. So I'm still within Teams from an architecture perspective, but I'm also still within Teams from a user experience perspective as well. I've still got all of my internal chats from my colleagues at the council that I'll be able to receive here. The only difference is, of course, I've now got access to my citizen service platform. So I'm just going to dive into my sessions dashboard. So this is where all of my interactions are going to be delivered. So in real terms for a local council, what this means is any emails will come into this dashboard, any calls, any WhatsApps, maybe web chats, any external tasks, maybe a form from a website, perhaps. All of those will be delivered here natively within Teams, the platform you already use. So I'll go ahead and pop a call in now and show you how this behaves. I'll then play the part of the citizen and the agent. So I'll be the citizen calling in, dealing with our virtual user to try and get my issue dealt with. And then from there, the call will come into Nimbus and into Teams, and you'll see what that agent experience looks like as well, which is really, really important. So I'll just go ahead and pop a call in now so you guys can see how this works.
Hello, we are pleased that you are calling us. How may I assist you today?
Hi there, I've got no running water.
Understood. We need to confirm a couple of details to route your issue. Could you tell me what type of housing you're in? For example, is it sheltered housing?
Yeah, I'm in a flat, and I am in social sheltered housing, but it's not just my running water. I've got no heating either.
You've mentioned you're in sheltered housing and experiencing no running water and no heating. We'll route this now. Your issue about no running water and no heating in your sheltered housing flat will be forwarded.
So as you can see, what's happening here, as an agent, I'm being delivered this call with a virtual handover, which you can see here. The caller is reporting a loss of running water and heating in their sheltered housing, and it's being flagged as a vulnerable citizen, and it's been pushed to the front of the queue. It's being delivered here as a native Teams call. So as you can see, this has just been delivered to me now as a native Teams call, as any other call within Nimbus would be delivered. What I'll do now is act out a scenario between citizen and agent, so you can see what this looks like. Hi there, you're through to your local council. I can see you've got a loss of running water and heating. Is that correct? It is, yes. It's been like this all day now. Okay, and do you have any health conditions that might be triggered by the cold? No, I don't. Okay, and do you have any dependents in the house with you at all? Any children? No, no children. It's just myself. Okay, and did you hear any noise coming from the boiler, anything like that? No, I've not heard any noises coming from the boiler at all. It's just been like this all day now. Okay, based on everything you've said, we need to raise this really as a priority repair. So typically what that means is we'll aim to get someone out to you same day. At the end of this call, what I'll do is I'll send a referral through to the housing and safeguarding officer for your postcode, and I'll get them to give you a call back same day. Is that okay? Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your help. So I can go ahead and end that call. So what's happened there? Citizens called in. They've not actually asked for safeguarding at the IVR stage. What they've said is, I've got no running water. And that's typically how safeguarding referrals actually arrive into councils. They don't come as a safeguarding referral. They don't say, I need safeguarding. They'll come in the form of a housing repair or just a general inquiry sometimes. And the point of using AI is to identify at that very, very early stage that we need to get this routed to the right person with priority, which is exactly what we've done here. So you can see along the right-hand side, I've got a full transcription now without any human input whatsoever of that interaction, which is really, really powerful. We've got a statutory duty as local councils to fully audit and create an audit trail of all of our interactions that we have with all of our vulnerable citizens. That's been done without any human input whatsoever. So we've saved 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes of time there per agent. We know that agents are under pressure to go and deal with the next call, and we know that the human memory isn't great. So what the agent can do here is they can provide real empathy whilst they're on the phone to the citizen without the burden of having to take all of these notes after the call, potentially actually forgetting what was discussed. What you can see here is a fully generated AI summary of everything that was discussed. So the issue, the resolution, the recap, and the narrative, we can automatically push this into the CRM. So we've got a full audit trail and a single point of truth for that interaction stored in a CRM where we can revisit it if we need to. What you won't have seen is I was delivered a notification natively in Teams. So I'm playing the part here of the citizen from when I called in. I'm now the frontline agent, right? So I've taken that call. And if you listen to me on the call, I said at the end of the call, what I'll do is I'll get one of our housing or safeguarding officers to contact you. Now, we've automated that process. So if I go into Teams, what I should have been delivered as the housing or safeguarding officer is a full safeguarding review. Yeah, you can see that here. So I'm now the housing or safeguarding officer. I've not actually had to deal with that call. That's been dealt with by one of our frontline agents. But as per the Children's Act and the Health and Social Care Act, we need to escalate quickly. And that's exactly what we've done here without any human input. This has been delivered automatically. So what you're looking at here is me as the safeguarding officer. I've been delivered what we call a safeguarding review. So that's a summary, an AI summary of the call. And I've also got a full transcript of the call as well. So as a safeguarding officer, I can now use my expertise. I can go in, I can look at the summary, I can look at the transcript. And if I feel like I need to intervene, I can. So it's actually delivered me a couple of suggested follow-ups, and that's based on internal policy, right? So internal policy here says that I should either be doing a call now or at the very least scheduling a call. So we're not leaving things to chance. We're not leaving things open to human interpretation. We're quite literally spoon feeding this. So as a housing or safeguarding officer now, I can go ahead and I can do a call now. And what this should do, yeah, you can see here, that's delivering now a welfare check call. That's being initiated just using one click, and that will be delivered the same as all of our calls are delivered natively in Teams right on cue. So you can see the call is being delivered here, and it's telling me that I've got an outbound call, right? So it's telling me that the call is going outbound, and it's giving me the phone number that it's going to go to. I can just go ahead and initiate that there. And as you can see on my phone, if you can see my screen, is that call is being delivered to my mobile number. So I can go ahead and answer that call, and the call will connect. Again, the call has been made using Teams. It's the whole point of this webinar is to be leveraging to the absolute maximum our existing Microsoft 365, our Teams environment. So if you're heavily invested in that area, this is just the way that you can optimize using more of it. So I'll go ahead and I'll close that down, and I'll finish with one more slide, which kind of reviews kind of what we've talked about today. So what have we shown? We've shown we can use AI to identify urgency at first contact. We can prioritize vulnerable citizens. We can use AI to hand over context to the human. We can do automatic transcription summarization. We can automatically escalate to relevant safeguarding teams with a full transcript and a summary of the call, and we can deliver suggested actions to the housing or safeguarding officer. But what does this mean in real terms? Because this is what councils are really, really interested in. It removes the need for frontline staff to actually triage manually, which can save up to 2 minutes per call at the beginning of the call. We're doing risk-weighted routing instead of just the traditional first come, first served. So what that does is it allows supervisors to not have to necessarily get involved too much and do intervention. Officers are starting calls with context instead of Can you explain to me again? We've all been on those calls where we've dealt with a contact center where we've had to explain what we want to talk about 2 or 3 times. This completely takes that away. The manual note taking we talked about, but we can save up to 5 to 10 minutes per call on admin, case notes. And the other key thing, which is really, really easy to forget, is that reducing the risk of misinterpretation. Humans who have calls stacked up behind them, it's very, very easy to miss certain potential escalation points or triggers that people have said to identify if it's an urgent case or not, but also then that note taking as well, misinterpreting what's been talked about and those notes being open to interpretation. We remove all of that using AI. The automatic handoff means less delays and duplicated effort, and the suggested follow-ups are aligned to internal policy, which is absolutely key. So safeguarding and housing offers can make their decisions better and faster, but based on internal policy. So safeguarding is a really, really powerful use case, and it's one I'm really, really passionate about. But what we've actually demonstrated here is how councils can standardize their service delivery inside Microsoft Teams. So using intelligent routing, better context, this automated wrap up, and then the structured follow-up actions based on internal policy is really, really powerful and can deliver these tangible outcomes like cost saving. And with this example is improved safeguarding. I always advise the next step in these situations is typically what we do is a workshop with councils to map where today's processes maybe leak a little bit of time or create rework. And then what we do, and this is the key thing, we design the fixes using the Microsoft stack that you already have. So if there's any questions after this, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Great,
Steve,
thanks,
I think over to you.
Yep, it is. So obviously exciting stuff done. Thank you for bringing it to life. Just for me to recap, what I wanted to do was take you through the last few bits in terms of recap the common use cases. So you can see everything from simple to complex, kind of middle ground on what we've shown. There's in the simple side, particularly status queries, FAQs, we talked about bin emptying, things like that that are simple, that can be literally taken from a list. So it can be something really simple. And starting simple is really key. The transactional, contextual piece, appointment scheduling, always an important thing that can take up a lot of time, but if we can access calendars and systems, we can easily automate that kind of interaction. To answer Jonathan's question on the chat as well, real-time translation, when you get to the dynamic, when you're working with the contact centers, yes, translation is absolutely there with a lot of language already included on the platforms that we work with, more being added all the time. And then into the complex, where you are talking about much more interaction with systems, but also looking at perception of sentiment and things like that. So things like performance management is really important to be able to help the agents and the employees who are working with the citizens to actually work alongside them and make life easier. The systems are effectively everything from off the shelf, already embedded into systems that you're using. We've talked about the Microsoft ecosystem, things that are already in platforms like Luware, through to more kind of developmental pieces, right through to when we get to multi-model, which is actually looking at lots of different data sets and becomes a lot more complex. And the integrations that these actually lead to. So working in, as we said, IVR and replacing IVR, but working into the CRMs and the case management systems, as it gets bigger in complexity, working with more of those systems with API integrations, where they don't necessarily wholly exist already, but then working into contact centers, workforce management, and right into the most complex, where we're literally integrating with everything else that's going on within a council. Last but not least, these are everything from the simple side. It's proven, it's often already in there. It's a prerequisite within platforms, right through to platforms that are scaling and growing now. into the emerging platforms, which are now fully usable. They may not be fully understood by the general public, but actually the emergence of those has made it much easier to do all those right into those multi-model and policy pieces. Then to recap on the approach that both H and Jordan have talked about, the really important bit is identifying what you're going to do, not trying to boil the ocean here, making sure that you're focusing on particular issues and problems that can be fixed to give you those efficiencies, the reductions in cost, the reductions in reliance on people to do tasks that they shouldn't really be doing, that they can be working better elsewhere. Capturing the reality. What are you doing at the moment? So that's a really important piece when Jordan talked about workshops, just understanding what you're actually doing today. That's the key, because that is the lead into how you can fix the problems that come out of what you're doing today. Prioritize the ones that matter. So it's capturing that reality is really important, but then going through and saying, what are the really high priority pieces that we want to fix? How can we use AI in a simple way to fix some of those problems? Going into it, once you've made your decision on what you're actually going to look at, then into the deep dive, not trying to do that before you get to the point where you know what you're working on. And simple implementations, not necessarily implementing across the board, building up from a friendly user base, being able to actually build that business case to go out into the business. And what that leads to when you actually then develop the system, you'll build it, you'll manage it, but it actually gives you that information, and that it's a measurable improvement that takes you back around in a circle to start to identify the next target. So it's an iterative process going along and saying, right, I fixed that problem, what's next? And every time you fix one problem, that is then advertised out and communicated out to the rest of the organization. And it makes it easier to then build it up and do more and more complex scenarios and really get into the use of the agentic AI. And with that, I'm going to pass you back to Simon.
Lovely. Thank you, Steve. So yeah, just with me to wrap up, we've got a few questions in the Q&A. So hopefully you guys can help me to cover these off. We've got one from Jonathan. When we say citizen, when we say that a citizen,
to elaborate on that. So that's the one I was answering there. So yes, so when somebody is using a natural language conversation to interact with agentic AI, there's two parts to that. There is the ability to have that conversation. When we're demoing it, we tend to show it as a conversation that kind of stops and starts with each thing. Actually, you can talk over the top of it. You can actually interact as you would with a person as I've just interrupted you there, Simon, to make a point that if we were doing that with an agentic AI, you can actually react like that. But it also does include the translation. Multiple languages are available on the platforms, that particularly in a local government environment, you may be dealing with lots of different languages. So it really eases that. And that is local languages. It can be international languages. There's a wide and a growing range of languages that are available on the platforms.
I guess linked to that as well, there's a question from Finton. Can the virtual agent be localized? So can it talk in a British accent? I think we had an American accent earlier. That's probably a question for Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question we get an awful lot, and typically with brand new technologies, unfortunately, the first iteration usually comes in an American accent. As with all technologies, because it's brand new, that's where it starts. But it's a great question, and yes, those regional dialects and regional accents are coming. So yeah, the answer to the question is yes, you can.
Yes, excellent. Oh, that's good. And maybe we'll even get a Brummie accent for our Midlands customers coming eventually. Okay, so we had a question from Norbert, said, brilliant presentation, guys. Can you please share the recording after? Paula, maybe one for you is what's going to happen with the recording? Will it be on the website, or how does that look?
Yes, it will be, the recording will come out. It should come out to everyone who's registered on Teams automatically, but we'll also download it and put it on the website and get it out to you that way as well, if that's a better way to consume it.
Okay, amazing. Right, let's have a quick check. Are there another question that's arrived? Hold on. Question from Sharon. Is this live in any organisations currently? I guess that's a question to everybody, really. Starting with you, I guess. Starting with you, Jordan.
I'm happy to go first on this one. Yes, we've got multiple public-facing case studies from local authorities and local government organisations who are using this today. And in terms of the automation piece has been around for a long time. In terms of the CRM integrations, that's been our bread and butter for many years now. So that's not magic. It's battle tested at this stage, is how I would describe it. In terms of the AI piece, it's very new, but we've got customers using this as proof of concept today in local government. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
And I would say in terms of a wider scope, and not to upset Jordan by talking about other platforms, but we do have multiple platforms have this up and running in the organisation, in other organisations, including as SCC, we do develop our own tools to do this as well. So it's across the board.
Yeah, maybe just to add one more thing. Those customers that Jordan mentioned, we are supporting some of them as well. So they are SCC customers.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the things that everybody should take from this webinar is our team within Resonate. They really are the sort of experts at integrating all systems. So whether it's Microsoft, variety of telephony systems, but also you guys have got your Power Platform practice where you can get into the weeds of all the sort of Copilot Studio stuff as well, if you want to take those automations a bit further. Yeah, that's definitely worth everybody being aware of. So I think we're just about running up to time. Let me have one more look for any more questions. Another one from Sharon. Have we got any references of organisations to recommend? Yeah, we can definitely follow up with those afterwards. We've got all of your contact details, so we'll be in contact. So we can absolutely do that, not a problem. One more from Norbert. Are you able to share any local gov examples? Any other London boroughs? Got any on there, Jordan?
Yeah, that's a really timely question actually from Norbert. We're actually in the middle of a proof of concept today with one of the London boroughs who at the moment will remain nameless. But yes, we're right in the middle of a proof of concept there, which includes AI integration to CRM, all within their existing Teams environment. So it's a great question, and yeah, it's a timely one as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jordan. Okay, so yeah, we're just running up to time. So next steps, we would love to have a further conversation with the people that have joined the call. We'd love to sit down and do a maturity assessment or map out your customer, do a customer journey workshop. We can also provide more detailed demos as well on Luware in particular if required. So we will be in contact after the session. Yeah, do engage, and yeah, we would love to engage with you further and help you to help the resident really and give them that slicker experience. So thank you very much for taking the time out. We're just about on the hour, so have a great rest of the day and a really good weekend. Thanks very much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
You guys.
Cheers.